All right, well, we'll let people in as they come and sign on. But I am here with Mark Perry, CEO and Executive Director of Florida Oceanographic. And today we wanted to talk to you about just an introduction to issues that our oceans are currently facing. And with that, Mark, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, welcome everybody. Yeah, we're just wanted to have kind of this ocean conversation because it's June is World Oceans Month, and there's a lot of ocean issues that affect us here in Florida, particularly along our coastal areas. So we wanted to start out by kind of understanding some of the challenges that our oceans facing. As I said, June is World Ocean Month. We're trying to reflect on the importance of the ocean and how it sustains our life on our planet. It supports billions of people around our world, absorbing the heat and the carbon dioxide, and it drives our climate and produces the oxygen that we breathe. So literally, it supports all life on this planet and keeps that diversity of life existing. And but our oceans are being affected by a lot of climate change issues and things that are happening. So we wanted to kind of bring those into some perspective and then learn about things that we might be able to do to help meet these challenges or face these issues. And so the importance of how the ocean regulates it, how the biodiversity or local economies are affected. People move to Florida here and mainly want to live on the coastal areas because they want to connect and engage with our ocean and coastal environments. So it's up to us to kind of understand the threats that are facing our ocean and impacting coastal communities. And then also our responsibility to learn how we can address these challenges, whether it's from beach cleanups or restoration projects or working with other members in our community to work towards solutions on, saving our ocean environment. Our oceans are warming and things are happening to them, including the outstanding thing recently is coral bleaching, of course. But our ocean warming is because our ocean absorbs about 90% of the heat in our environment. And the ocean temperatures have been increasing in North Atlantic alone. In the last 2 years, 22 and 23, have set record levels of the North Atlantic Ocean conditions. I mean, warm temperatures are getting warmer and warmer, and they're hitting records every year. And that warming drives a lot of things. It's driven by greenhouse gas emissions, which contain the heat within our atmosphere and, of course, absorbed by the ocean. It drives that. And if the ocean temperatures rise, what happens to our corals is there's a symbiotic algae that's affected, and the warming temperature expels that algae, and then the coral dies and the corals turn white. And so we call this coral bleaching. We've been observing this now for several years. And there's also other stressors on our coral reefs, which are stony coral tissue loss disease and other things that are being affected. But the impacts also go to just the loss of reefs and the decrease in the biodiversity that comes with the coral reef ecosystems, but also weakens that shoreline protection. And then the other impacts to our ocean, of course, not only absorbing the heat and expanding, but they also absorb the carbon dioxide. And to the point of where there's so much carbon dioxide to absorb, the oceans are turning that into a carbonic acid. So the acidity of the ocean is getting more and more acidic as time goes on, and that is going to cause dramatic effects to the shellfish, like we know shrimp and crabs and other shellfish that are trying to formulate their shells. Even in oyster larvae have been observed not to be able to form because of the increasing acidity, about 25% over the last 30 years. What we've seen also, of course, is the sea level rise. Expansion is caused by that thermal expansion and also the melting of ice caps and glaciers. And this increases our coastal flooding, as you've seen and heard about in particularly South Florida and Miami and other places. We get these more than just king tides now. We're getting much more flooding events and causing much more impact to the local areas. All the infrastructure, the homes, the roads, the streets, everything is being impacted. And also the sea levels rising have risen more quickly. In South Florida, they've done statistics and showing over the last 31 years of 6-inch rise of sea level, but in more recent time, and it's rising another 6 inches predicted over the next 15 years. So it's an exponential rise in sea level. And that's going to be causing a real issue. This projection was done back in 2015 by a group of 4 counties south of South Florida here, called the Florida Regional Climate Change Compact. They formed this compact because they knew they were on the front lines of this climate change issue and the sea level rise. And the South Florida Water Management District and their staff put this together and kind of showed the other um, projections for the unified sea level rise projections. The first column being the International Panel on Climate Change, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and then the NOAA predictions. But I wanted just to point out there are two basic curves. You want to look at the low and the high. The high risk potential is if by 2000, if we're not doing anything to combat climate change and global warming, the projections are up to 6.6 feet by the end of the century. And then if we are able to do some optimistic things and help to stem that climate change and keep that warming condition down, maybe it'll only be 1.6 feet or a little less. And that's quite a difference. And the reason I want to point that out is it gives us an incentive to actually try to do everything we can to stop the global warming and obviously stop sea level rise. Other impacts to our ocean environment, coastal environment, do come from the coast. Actually, over 80% of the pollution in our ocean comes from the land-based human activities that are on the land-based. And they spread through the discharges of polluted water and runoff that carry that into our nearshore environments and then obviously spread out into the ocean environments. We've had a lot of obviously Lake Okeechobee discharges, as you've heard us talk about before, because this particular part of the coast and the west coast of Florida are connected to the lake and artificially managed by the Corps of Engineers to discharge this water. But along with that, other pollutants are also coming into the runoff through whatever practices we have on land, right? Whether it's agriculture or urbanization of the land, and we're losing our wetlands, which are the buffers and the recharge areas for our aquifers. So the nutrients that come in, the sediments, the metals, the plastics, a lot of things that are being introduced that are chemicals that weren't organic and like they used to be years ago are more synthetic and longer lasting. And these materials that are getting into our environment are showing up in our oceans globally, worldwide, and particularly in the ocean gyres in our areas. So what are these impacts are also resulting in poor water quality and also harmful algal blooms and habitat destruction. So not only is it affecting our environment, but it's affecting our human health as an issue as well. So these are all kind of coming off the land, so to say, that runoff. The stormwater protection is things that we're losing, that natural defense of the shorelines. We've hardened a lot of our shorelines in Florida. We've gotten rid of the mangroves and the vegetation and we put seawalls in. And this was the way that we did it years ago. We armored the shoreline to try to stabilize it. And we lost the natural protections like coral reefs and mangroves and oysters and seagrasses and habitats that aren't only providing habitat for natural systems, but also help to protect. And they also help to sequester carbon. Mangroves, oysters, and seagrass are some of the highest sequestering of carbon dioxide in our planet. So we ought to promote those and enhance that biodiversity. They improve our water quality. And of course, they support the local economies through the attractiveness of a healthy coastal ecosystem. The other big thing that directly affects our economic health, if you will, is also being driven by ocean warming and by the ocean temperatures, and that's the storm intensity and frequency. We've seen an elevation of these storm intensities and frequencies that are coming across, and of course, with the population increasing and the amount of value that's increasing in our coastal communities, in homes, for instance, are becoming uninsurable, or the insurance costs are going skyrocketing. I know just my insurance alone doubled, was 52% higher this year than it was last year. So we're seeing that increase all across Florida, and some insurers are finding it hard to even provide insurance for homeowners. So the economic impact to our coastal communities is very dramatic when you look at it that way. So kind of what things that we can do, or what we can do as a community, or what we wanted to talk about here, is that there are a lot of efforts going along locally. There's a lot of organizations like Florida Oceanographic and other organizations that are leading some efforts in restoration of these habitats, in trying to stop the pollution that's coming off of the land-based systems, and look to sustainable practices. We can do these things also individually. Whether you live along the coast or people that live along the coast, we can promote the fact that we need to live sustainably. We need to reduce and reuse and recycle materials that need to be recycled, and we need to advocate for these policies to change. This has been a struggle for us as an organization as well as individuals for many years, because governments and governmental bodies change, and they change priorities year to year, and they don't seem to always have a focus on, hey, this is a major issue, and if we don't start paying attention to it now, we may get into a lot of trouble in the future. They just seem to think that putting off climate change is just, it's a long-term thing. We don't have to worry about it right now. Well, we do, and now is the time. So we need education. We need to educate people, make people aware of these ocean issues, and promote as this environmental stewardship of what our mission is all about. And that is to try to do everything we can individually and collectively to make this happen, make this change happen, so that we can combat the climate change issues that are affecting our oceans. So we just kind of did this kind of quick intro to some of the ocean issues that are affecting our state, particularly Florida, practically surrounded by the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico, and all the waters that are in the state are connected out to the coastal environments. And so we have it all right here, and we're at the ground zero for sea level rise at south tip of Florida, and we're trying everything we can to not only understand these issues, but then communicate them and educate others, and then also take action and advocate for change. So I appreciate you all coming out tonight, or having a listen. Let's have some conversation, or if you have some questions or thoughts or comments, ideas, please, love to have a town hall conversation. So anybody, raise your hand if you have that little hand raising thing on the bottom.
Yeah, and the way we're gonna do it is, if you have a question, please raise your hand and I will ask you to unmute yourself. Do we have any questions? All right, Alita, I will ask you to unmute yourself.
We were just wondering where the progress is with, I was told
the
the balloons, that they were gonna
Banning
ban
balloons.
balloons.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, hey, so the question about the balloon ban, yeah, Valentina can help too. We've been tracking that legislation through the state legislature, and there is some updates on it. Valentina, didn't we learn recently about?
Yeah, so
Governor.
Oceana's been heading this effort, and the legislation was actually presented to the governor. I want to say it was around June 7th, so it hasn't been very long. But he has 15 days to make his decision of either vetoing or signing it. So if you have Instagram, you can go to our Instagram, and there is a link there on one of our posts to Oceana's Take Action Alert. But you can also call the governor himself and just let him know that this is an important piece of legislation and that you're supporting it and that you want him to sign it. And I believe it's House Bill 321, if you want to reference that. But yeah, definitely please call the governor and let him know, hey, we're paying attention. We know you have this piece of legislation on your desk, and we would like to have this become law in Florida.
Yeah. it's gotten through the legislature. Now it's just waiting for the governor to sign it. And as Valentina said, he's got until the end of June to be able to sign these bills or not sign them and going into law. So do what you can to contact the governor. Good question. Great.
Mark, I believe that bill is only for mass balloon releases. What we need to do is to get Publix to stop selling Mylar balloons. I know just yesterday I was on the beach and I put it on Instagram, one of those balloons right on the beach. But whenever we go out in the boat, you know, the kids practice gaffing them. But it's ridiculous. There's a million of them out there. A couple months ago, Alita and I were in South Africa, and over Table Mountain, somebody let go a dozen of them. You know, well, they're probably here now. You know, it's crazy.
So even if, like you said, even if this legislation gets through and just stops in Florida anyway, the release of the balloons, it's not going to stop the production of them. So they're still, like you said, going to be for sale at different stores like Publix or others. And we've got to figure a way to kind of decrease that use or stop that use and production of it. It's just like plastics. We have to really get to the heart of the matter and try to find other alternative materials rather than plastics to use and encourage stopping the production of that. Great point. Thanks for bringing that up.
All right, so if anybody else has a question, please raise your
Comments,
hand.
questions, comment? Any thoughts? Yeah.
All right, well, looks like this is going to be a short and sweet town hall. Thank you everyone for logging on and for sharing this conversation with us. Definitely some very important issues that Mark covered. And we look forward to continuing the conversation. If you are not part of our advocacy email list, I highly suggest that you log on to that you sign up on our website under floridaocean.org/advocacy. You know, we're always putting out there the issues that are, you know, that are important and that there's an actionable item, you know, at the time. So.
Yeah, appreciate it. So you don't have to end here. I mean, let's keep having this conversation. Let's keep talking about the issues. And if you ever have any other questions or anytime other than now, just fine, come to us, bring it to me, give me a call, give Valentina a call, and we'll research it out and get some action going on things. So stay tuned. All right. Oh, you had another question, Alita, I guess, or Jeffrey, you want to go off mute?
Yeah, so you have to press unmute.
There you go.
There we go.
Oh.
Oh, you did.
Mute.
Now you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yep, now we can hear you. Good.
Oh, Mark, off subject, but same subject. Could you tell us a little bit about all the black tip sharks that are migrating around? I think they're heading north now. And then also the sawfish in the neighborhood.
I know we have sawfish in the neighborhood, but I haven't heard of a recent catch. Have you had a recent catch coming up?
I filmed one with the drone the other day at Bathtub Beach.
There's been I've had one that my brother's friend who was surfing did film one as well, but that was almost 2 years ago actually at Bathtub Beach. So maybe that's a proving ground for where they need to be at a certain time of years.
Yeah, so this was just
good observation. Yeah, the blacktip sharks. Not sure if this is that time of year where they're doing migration. Usually they're following bait fish, and the bait fish don't migrate till the fall, but that's from a north-south position. But this kind of migration to the north, I don't know how massive that is, but I can check into it and find out more about it.
Okay. Yeah, I've been, since we live south of the inlet, I've been going out south of the inlet on my paddleboard. But then about a week and a half ago, I started going to Bathtub Beach, and as you know, the water clarity up there is so much better.
Yeah.
But I've been seeing a ton of black tip sharks and that one sawfish,
Wow.
spotted eagle rays, lots of, and tons of tarpon.
Wow, great. Yeah.
There's still a little bit of life left out there, so
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
protect it all.
And that's it, Jeffrey. And whenever you see that and do that, please tell people about it, because they don't know, they don't understand, they might not understand, what's going on. And we got to tell them this is the way it should be, with more diversity of life, more things that are there. Because you and I and others remember it the way it used to be as well. We got to get it back. Yeah,
Absolutely.
good observations. Thank you.
And then Hannah has a question. She's rolling her face because she isn't going to ask it publicly, but about the about the nudibranchs, the
Yeah.
sea hares that were here.
Yep.
So obviously they came up, they could not go back, so they all died. But did that happen because the Gulf Stream is slowing down? Like, what's going on? Why did that happen?
Well, it's a time of year thing. It's also that time when they have this massive aggregation of spawning aggregation. So there was this time, and I saw Rufus Wakeman and others were taking video of it as well, right inside the inlet, around the hole in the wall, that area.
Yeah.
But we've seen it in other times before when those aggregations come, and because they can't maneuver very well in the currents or the direction of the waves and stuff, they do get washed ashore, and unfortunately a lot of them die off at that time. But just remember that there are a lot of them that do survive, and millions do survive, and you'll start seeing egg cases around and things that happen. Yeah, it's a good thing, but unfortunately it looks sad because there's a lot that don't make it. Yep.
Okay.
2 of them are running for president.
Stop it.
A good question, Hannah. Thanks for asking. All right.
Thanks, Hannah.
All right.
All right,
Well,
last,
listen, y'all, good.
last call for questions.
Good to have a good evening, and thanks so much for your interest in the ocean environment and our coast areas, and just keep up the good work. Whatever you do, can individually or together with an organization like us or anybody, just let's keep after it, keep the pressure on, and we'll get it right.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, guys. Best to you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.